Hello, everyone. The LBJ School Alumni Board is pleased to kick off its first Alumni Spotlight series today. I'm Rama. I'm part of the 2018 cohort, and I passed out from the EMPL program of LBJ. Today, I have the privilege of opening the series with one of our esteemed alumni, Pedro Conseiso. He is a director at the Human Development Report Office, United Nations Development Program. Pedro completed his PhD from the LBJ School in the year 2000. I'm going to stop here and let Pedro do the talking now. Hello, Pedro.
Hi, great to be with you, Rama.
So nice to have you. I'm so delighted to have you as our very first guest for the Alumni Spotlight series.
Thank you.
Should we dive right into this?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So tell us more about yourself, where you grew up, where you're based now, and all the other details.
Sure. I'm Portuguese. I was born in Lisbon and grew up most of my life in Lisbon. Most of my youth, I went to school, to university in Lisbon. From there, I went to Austin for my PhD at the LBJ School. And then went back to Lisbon for a year. And for the last close to 20 years, I've been living in New York City and working for the United Nations. So that's where I am now.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit more about the story of how LBJ happened to you. What made you pursue a PhD at the LBJ School?
Well, I was studying, or I had been studying physics. That was my college degree. And I actually started my career as a researcher in physics on nuclear fusion of all subjects, something that is very, very hot and interesting. It looks like we may be able finally to exploit nuclear fusion to produce energy. But over time, I became more and more interested, not only in the science, but also on how science, technology, innovation help societies to grow and create opportunities for people. So I became more interested in what you can describe broadly as economic development. And so I was interested in making a transition from this world of natural sciences. I did a master's in economics still in Lisbon, but I felt that I needed to go deeper and try to explore this question of how does one go about harnessing science, technology, and innovation for improving people's lives. And so as you can imagine, there are not many places where someone with a profile like mine would feel welcomed. And so what attracted me in the LBJ School was, well, first of all, my PhD advisor, Jamie Galbraith, because it's for a PhD student, it's very important to understand either the context of the school or the person that you want to work with. And then it was a school that appealed to me because it provided not only for great intellectual opportunities, clearly also being part of the University of Texas at Austin, but had that concern with making a difference, with being part of the policy discussions, policy debates. So that's how I ultimately decided to go to the LBJ School.
That sounds great. That is quite a shift from physics to policy, but it all makes sense as you just spoke about it.
I still miss physics though and math. So sometimes to relax, I read some math and some physics because it's less complicated than the world in which we live. It reassures me.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, I am very excited to know more about your current job and your professional journey after LBJ. What happened after you finished your PhD and how did you land where you are right now?
After my PhD, I went back to Portugal and I thought I was going to pursue an academic career. in fact, before I went to the LBJ School, I was teaching physics. I was a professor of physics at the university. And so I went back for a year and I transitioned from teaching physics to teaching economics, social science research methods, still in an engineering school. So it was sort of a niche area, but something that university gave me an opportunity to do. And then came the possibility of doing what I thought was going to be a postdoc, which is something that people often do after a PhD. So I thought I was going to come to the United Nations to work for a year as a postdoc, and then I would go back and continue to pursue my academic career in Portugal. But I ended up staying at the United Nations, where I am now, United Nations Development Program, so the development arm of the United Nations. And I've done different things over the years, but currently I had the Human Development Report Office, which regularly publishes the Human Development Report, which is perhaps better known for putting out the Human Development Index, in which we rank countries looking at their performance, not only when it comes to income per capita, but also at achievements in health and education. So we argue that it's important to have this broader perspective of development as opposed to linking only at economic outcomes.
Awesome. I have to say, back in school, when I was doing my master's in economics, we looked at the HDI index and kind of, that was part of so many of our different essays or stuff like that. I had never in my life imagined that I would speak to someone who's part of that and developing that.
So it's very gratifying to hear that it makes a difference and that people read it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you enjoy the most about your current job?
Well, I think it's my current functions combine the opportunity to continue to do research, writing, to interact with scholars, academics, policymakers, but at the same time, never lose sight, first of all, of what animates the work that we do here in our office, which is this notion of putting people at the center of development. Economic outcomes are important, but there are other things that people care about. And so we have to look at how to give people a chance to live lives according to what they value. So just being part of this journey is something that is very gratifying. But also I enjoy being part of the United Nations and working for the United Nations. It appeals to me the notion that we collectively have been able to create and sustain an organization that stands for principles that are universal, and that there is a group of people that are trying to look after the interests that are shared by many around the world, and particularly those that were born under less and live under less fortunate circumstances. So being part of the United Nations is something that I really enjoy and gives me strength every day.
What is the most challenging part of your field or area of study? And I'm sure what you're doing at the UN is not easy. How do you overcome those challenges?
The most difficult part is the fact that the aspirations of the United Nations clash all the time with the reality that we see on the ground at multiple levels. The fact that countries often do not seem to come to agreements, miss opportunities in reducing conflict, in helping people in need. So it's confronting this duality between the aspirations of the United Nations and the difficulty of implementing them and making them a reality on the ground. So that is very, very tough. And sometimes it creates a sense of self-questioning of, should we really be doing this? I mean, is it really helping anyone? But in the end, I think that it is because there are these difficulties, these tensions, that the United Nations exists. Because if everyone got along well and there were no disagreements, there would be no need for the United Nations. So
I agree.
I end up in a process of questioning and answering it myself in affirmative. So it's a process of encountering difficulties, but also finding motivation as I think about those difficulties every day.
Did the LBJ school, your time here, did that kind of help you in some way about consensus building with the countries or any other thing?
Definitely. It helped me, first of all, in just the analytical training that I received, which was outstanding. And here I would extend my experience also to the university, which was important for me. Economics, for instance, Department of Economics, and also the exposure to a very interdisciplinary group of people. But the fact that the LBJ School is meant to look at the real world and to make a difference at the real world and in policy exposed me to the idea that there are always or many times conflicting interests, and people have very different views. So it's not like something that you can solve as a mathematical problem, or that you can apply an algorithm. You always have to listen to people, consider different interests, and if you are in a position of being a decision maker, to arbitrate between all of these competing interests, or if you are in a position of advising, making sure that people making the decision have the best information possible. So it was a wonderful training, again, not only analytically, but also in terms of the process of making decisions. I would say not only in the public sector. I think that what I learned in the LBJ School, the importance of having information, hearing different perspectives, looking at the evidence, is applicable to any decision, in private sector, civil society. So it's something that I carry with me every day.
That resonates so much. Things haven't changed in 20 years since you left. I carry the same sentiment. Coming to your favorite memory of your time at the LBJ School, what did you enjoy the most or remember after so many years?
Well, I remember many things, so I don't know if I can choose one. I remember the classes. I think it might be specific to my background, because I studied, as I mentioned, in Portugal until I came to the LBJ School. So just the format of teaching, the open format discussion, is something that make a big impact on me. So I have very vivid memories of those discussions, classes, the interactions with my fellow students, live in Austin. LBJ School is in Austin. It was not as fashionable a place as it is today, but it has I have very good memories of just the whole experience, not only the academic experience of being in the LBJ School, but the experience of living in and around the LBJ School. Seminars with Jamie Galbraith and we had a small team of people that would meet every Monday morning to discuss what we were doing, research. So many good memories. The library. In Portugal, we don't have libraries, as I came to understand exist in most universities in the United States. So the LBJ library was a place where I spent many hours, as I'm sure all of the people that go to the LBJ School do. But it was pleasant. It was, I have very pleasant memories. It was not painful at all. It was a time that I enjoyed very much.
Awesome. What advice would you give to alumni who want to pursue a similar career path as yours?
If similar means coming to work for the United Nations, I would say it's important to get to know the United Nations. I think people don't know what United Nations do and what they are about, and the opportunities that may exist for people. Sometimes when I'm out on the street and people ask me what I do and I say I work for the United Nations, people ask me, so are you a translator? Because of my accent, they assume that I'm a translator. But you see, the UN is seen as a place of diplomacy, diplomats, and it is that too. But it's also a place where we are trying to help countries with challenges ranging from addressing climate change to reducing poverty, addressing inequality, reducing exposure to natural hazards. So it's a place that's not only focused on diplomacy and not only focused on humanitarian interventions, which I think it's what captures the imagination of people. So I would encourage people to take a look in what the United Nations do and see that there are many ways in which their talents and skills could be applied.
Great. Any other thoughts you want to share with the alumni who would be watching you?
That they should come to the United Nations and to international organizations more broadly. I obviously interact with many people from all parts of the world. And I do believe that the LBJ alumni could make a huge contribution and would be very much welcome. So I would encourage them to explore, to reach out, and to come join international organizations.
Great. So I can actually talk to you for hours, but we have a constraint of time on how much we can go. Is there anything that you want to say to the wider audience? Anything else?
Well, just thank you to the LBJ School. Thank you for the opportunity to share these thoughts with everyone that will be listening. And reiterate how impactful the LBJ School was in my life, not only my professional life, but going to the LBJ School is really a complete package of being immersed in a community, in a place that is extremely enriching. So I feel a very deep sense of gratitude to the LBJ School. So I wanted to say thank you.